My name is Delena Stout, and along with my husband Larry, we started our journey in 2003 with our dogs, Aspen and Sydney. And Aspen was a St. Bernard, as you can see, and she had irritable bowel and hip dysplasia. Sydney had a chronic yeast issue. They told us that Aspen would not live past 6, and Sydney would always be on some type of medication to withhold the yeast. You know, back then, that wasn't an option for me, because when people tell me no or something, that it just makes me want to know more. So I started my research, and this was the hard way. I had to go to the library. Google wasn't around. So when you talk about research, I really did my homework. So at that point, we realized that there wasn't a place in town for us to get a good, decent dog food. Aspen lived till almost 13. Sydney was 14. So you can see diet did make a big difference in their lives and ours, because we got to have our babies a little longer than what we expected. I've been involved in the pet industry for over 15 years. I am a non-vet member of the American Holistic Veterinary Association. I did my pet food therapy at the Chi Institute along with the vet tech program. Both of these programs really evolved around food and how it helps with the illnesses that we're trying to teach our pets. That's how my journey started. And Alex is our manager from the Brookside store. And Alex is on another mission and continuing our journey to kind of expand a little bit. We are on a campaign to educate people about vaccines, and she has been involved with the grassroots effort of Protect the Pets, and I will let Alex explain a little bit about that.
The Protect the Pets movement was started by veterinarian John Robb in order to educate everybody about the dangers of over-vaccinating. We see the symptoms every day in our pets, ranging from allergies, epilepsy, behavioral issues, even cancer. And these often are not associated with vaccines. I myself lost my dog 2 years ago to over-vaccinating, and it was devastating because nobody knew about it. And I'm within the past year have learned about it, and it's already too late. So in order to carry on her legacy, her name is Grace, she's my amazing Grace. And in order to carry on her legacy, I feel like it's my duty to educate and inform as many people as I can to help save their pets as well. We've included information in your folders about vaccine protocol from Dr. Becker. We have information on our website about vaccine protocols from other veterinarians and the Protect the Pets movement. There is a petition that you can sign to be part of the movement and get involved to protect the pets. So I strongly encourage you to do some more research and educate yourself a little more so we can help save as many pets as we can. So thank you very much.
As a whole, the pet industry has gone through an evolution of creating poor quality pet food for our pets. This series of seminars is going to give you a little bit of real truth of how pet food manufacturers really do. Now, I want to show a clip. This was told to me from Dr. Karen Becker about the real truth of pet food. She and associating with Dr. Barbara Royal created this movie, which kind of awakened me a little bit more and why I want to continue my journey with all of you. It's called Pet Pool.
First ingredient, brown yellow corn, even byproduct meal, corn gluten meal. Although this food really looks to be beautiful and something you'd be interested in nourishing your pet with, my recommendation is to avoid it.
The pet food industry is telling us what to feed our pets, really more based on what they want to sell us than what's necessarily good for the pet. So no corn, no wheat, no soy.
After many years of R&D, we have found that corn is still the best available source of carbohydrate.
Those are the things that cause overweight, diabetes, arthritis, chronic skin infections, allergies. Corn and wheat have become so subsidized and so cheap. It's a super cheap way to make food for somebody who can't say no.
More than 60 million packages were taken off store shelves last month because they apparently contained wheat gluten that was tainted with the chemical melamine.
They thought they were purchasing a certain protein product called wheat gluten, when in fact they were buying wheat flour that had been laced with cyanuric acid and melamine in order to pass it off as wheat gluten.
That was a betrayal of trust.
They don't care about me. They care about my money.
You have well-meaning, lovely veterinarians recommending foods not because they have sound nutritional background, but because that's all that they know. And in 100 years' time, we have successfully convinced an entire generation of pet lovers that why would you feed anything but dog food or cat food?
We have a great panel with us today. I am so blessed to have these two ladies with us. When you talk about a journey, Dr. Dodson and I have been on a great one. And she made my life plus my pet's life a very inspirational and I don't know how to explain it. We did the right thing. She helped me with my continuing education. She sponsors me when I did the Chi Institute. And she also sponsored me at the American Holistic Veterinary Association, so we can continue our education on how it relates to pet nutrition. Dr. Dodson received her DVM from Kansas State University in 1999. And after about a year in Montana, she decided to come back to Kansas. So she's been here ever since. In 2011, she became the proud owner of Mariposa Veterinary Wellness Center. And Dr. Dodson has been on the front lines of illnesses associated with poor nutrition. So she is here tonight to kind of educate all of you the pitfalls and how to avoid them. Dr. Dodson.
Okay, so the most important question I ask my patients when I first feed them, I ask their owners actually, what are they eating? Because wholesome nutrition is the key to a healthy immune system and the resistance to disease. So no matter what I'm seeing a patient for, I want to know what are they eating, that impacts what's going on with their body. So that's the most important question that I believe I can ask as a veterinarian. So Hippocrates, who is the Greek physician and father of modern medicine, father of Western medicine, said, "Let medicine be your food, and food be your medicine." And I couldn't believe in that more than anything. When veterinarians are trained, we receive very limited perspective on diet and nutrition. And yes, I drank from the Hills Science Diet Kool-Aid, and I started my veterinary career like all veterinarians do. I was recommending what we were taught was the best because they had research to back up their product. So to be quite honest, recommending foods like Science Diet, Royal Canin, and Purina, it was the easy thing to do. As a busy veterinarian, we just really don't have the time to look into nutrition and what impact nutrition has on our patients. So those companies will tell you what food you need to reach for when you have a problem. So if the patient is obese, this is what you feed them. If they have kidney disease, this is what you feed them, or liver disease, or diabetes, or allergies. So it makes it really simple, and you feel like you're helping your patients because somebody told you that's the best thing to do. So those of you who have veterinarians who are going to tell you, oh my gosh, origin food or don't feed raw food because, oh my gosh, your pet is going to die, it's because they don't have the time and commitment to really look into nutrition and don't have the experience to see what diet can do to their pet patients. So, but it wasn't long before I realized, and kind of like Delena said, I started to kind of wonder why are things not getting better for me? So I wasn't seeing the results that I expected from those excellent food options that I was recommending. Overweight pets weren't losing weight, no matter how little of that dry kibble we fed them. Allergy patients weren't getting any better, and they still needed drugs. Kidney patients whittled away in front of my eyes on those low-protein diets. And I even wondered about some of those really good foods when my own rescued Bengal cat lost her beautiful, shiny coat after I changed the food her breeder was feeding her because I had a much better food to feed her. So my mind kind of started to change when I joined the practice I'm at now, where the owner was recommending grain-free food. So, I have to admit this is a really foreign concept for me because, after all, I had that Kool-Aid in my system, And it was really easy to say, oh, you have struvite here, eat this food. So when I joined the practice and she talked about grain-free food, I was like, well, okay, I have to kind of go along with the flow. And so then when she up and left several months after I joined, I realized I had to do my research and kind of look into this better nutrition, because I'm starting to see a little bit of signs of improvement in some of the patients because we were recommending better quality food. So I really started to realize that there had to be a better way to give my patients good nutrition. So what I learned changed everything for me and all of my patients. So I want to just kind of share some of those experiences that I have that have made me committed to helping people find better options for their pets and have them be healthier. So in my practice, the way we practice, my goal is to find the root of the problem in order to solve it. So I do not believe in treating diseases with just medications over and over again, because all we're doing is taking care of just kind of the symptoms. We need to find out what's causing those problems. So in other words, I really love seeing my patients, and I hope they get healthy enough to not have to see me more than once or twice a year for just the regular wellness exams. So we're going to kind of start with the basics. So 70% of the immune system in a cat or dog lines the intestinal tract. So this makes the gastrointestinal tract the largest immune organ in the body. So that means when a pet is eating something that potentially can cause inflammation, that moves out throughout the entire body because we're triggering the immune system. So we'll see things like diarrhea, gas, itching of the skin, itching of the rear ends, itchy faces, itchy ears. Those are kind of some of the simple things we start to see. So my saying is, food sensitivity causes itchy ears and rears. So if your dog or cat has itchy rear ends or itchy ears, you really have to think about the food that you're feeding. And ironically, we have a joke in my clinic that when a dog comes in who's been chronically having their anal glands expressed, we always say, well, what are they eating? Beneful? You know, and it was up there. So I'm like, oh, there you go. So the thing that most people don't realize is no pet should ever have anal gland issues. That's not normal for you to express anal glands. And the reason is, through normal process of elimination and going to the bathroom, those anal glands are expressed on their own just through the process of pooping. So when we're eating food or ingredients that cause inflammation, those openings to those anal sacs get thickened and closed, and then those anal sacs fill up and they can't empty on their own. So if you have a pet who's doing excessive licking on their rear end, that is a food sensitivity. And your vet may not even think about that because they don't mind expressing anal glands once a month or once every couple of weeks. But in my world, I'm going to get to the root of why that anal gland is itchy. Okay, so it's not uncommon for me to hear owners say, but they've been eating the same food for years, or they eat good, expensive food. And so you know these things don't really matter if they're eating high carbohydrate, low quality protein, grain foods. And they can develop sensitivities to foods that they've been eating for years, especially when it's been causing years of inflammation. So just to kind of go over some things with you, what animals really need is animals need a source of protein that has high levels of essential amino acids. And it must be digestible. They must be able to utilize that protein. So in order for them to use those essential amino acids, it has to come from an animal protein source. It cannot come from a plant source. No matter what the marketing tells you, there's no such thing as healthy grains for cats and dogs. And what you're going to find is, I think when Shelby talks, she may kind of touch on this, is that a lot of the protein labeled in your food is not necessarily from animal proteins. Those manufacturers will count plant proteins as protein source, and that is a very poor quality of protein and one that your cat or dog cannot utilize. So in other words, it's not bioavailable. They might eat it, but their body doesn't get those amino acids from that food. So what happens instead, and this is what happens, and I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, but this is what happens when animals get older and they start to kind of deteriorate. And you see these older patients that have kind of losing muscle mass and they look old, and you think, everyone assumes, oh, that's an old dog, that's what they're supposed to look like. Or that's an old cat, that's what they're supposed to look like. And I can tell you in my practice, I see the dogs that I see who've been eating good quality high protein, and they don't look like that when they're 12 or 13. They should have good muscle mass on them. And the reason a lot of them don't is because some veterinarians and some people erroneously think you need to feed them low protein. If you don't give them protein in their food, they need it somewhere, they're going to rob their body. And that's why you see the muscle wasting away. So just keep that in mind when you're talking protein. You want to make sure it's a good source of protein and one that their bodies can actually utilize. So, for an example, I remember when I went through vet school, there was a huge expose, and this was years ago. Some of you may remember, I think it was Consumer Reports came out with a report about pet foods. And they said, basically in essence, that, well, you guys don't realize that when they say this food has so much protein, it could be tires. And that may have protein, but your dog or cat can't eat tires and get any protein benefit. So imagine my surprise when not too recently, one of the bigger pet foods came out with an allergic and allergy-based food for dogs who have allergies to all proteins. So guess what the ingredient is? The only protein source they have is hydrolyzed, which means they have a process that breaks up the proteins, chicken feathers. Hydrolyzed chicken feathers, and chicken feathers are 98% crude protein. So in essence, legally, technically, yeah, that's protein, but it has zero digestibility, which means the animal can utilize nothing from that protein source. So you have to really be aware of what the protein source is in the foods. And that's where reading labels is going to help you. And Shelby's going to help you with reading labels. She's much better at that than I am. But the other thing I want to mention too is the whole plant protein thing. Soybeans are another protein source that some pet foods may use. And I just want to let you know it's not digested in the intestines, but it's fermented in the colon. And what that does, what do you think that produces? Gas. So think about the food you're feeding if your pet is blamed for that smell in the room. So another thing too, before I get off of proteins, is cats are obligate carnivores. So which that means is they have to have animal protein. It's essential for them to survive. So they cannot synthesize any nutrients from plant sources. So their natural diet is mostly going to be protein, fat, with just a very little bit of carbohydrates. And guess where they get those carbohydrates from? The stomach of the prey they're eating. So cats are going to eat birds, they're going to eat mice, and those carbohydrates are in the stomach of those animals, and they're already partially digested and broken down for them, so they don't have to do anything. So in reality, cats should always eat very high protein. Their food should never contain more than about 7% carbohydrates. So the other thing too is this is one of my biggest, I guess, maybe not biggest, but one of my soapbox things is cats should be eating wet food, not dry food. And so you're going to find in most dry kibble that there's a lower percentage of protein to carbohydrates just because of the process of having to make that dry extruded kibble. And so we want them to have high moisture. And partially the reason is cats have a hard time digesting food without moisture in their stomach. And so they need to have that moisture in their stomach in order to digest. And so when they don't get it in their food, they don't do a very good job of digesting. So as you could probably guess, I'm a big proponent of grain-free foods. And I started out, as I said, when the owner of the clinic said grain-free, I said, yeah, whatever. And then I started kind of transitioning and just saying to people, well, if your dog does okay, it's all right. But I can honestly tell you, I see so many second opinion animals who come in to see me. And now it just becomes my mantra. The first thing I do is recommend that they eliminate grains from all of their food. And the reasons are there's no dietary benefit of processed grains. It is used strictly as fillers, and it is no source of protein for animals. So why do we have it in there? And instead, what happens is those grains are actually pro-inflammatory precursors. So they actually set the body up to start to cause inflammation. So when I'm seeing animals who have skin problems, for instance, I want to get that inflammation out. So here's how I explain this to my patients who have allergies. So first of all, if you don't happen to notice that your dog has inflammation, but let's say the season comes, it's spring or summer, and all of a sudden, boom, they get these really bad allergies. What I find is if you can eliminate that smoldering inflammation, remember 70% of the immune system lines the intestines, if you can get rid of that smoldering inflammation that's always there, it makes them better equipped to deal with the seasonal allergies. So you want to kind of decrease any inflammation that they have by cleaning up their diet.
So Shelby studied animal sciences as well as pet food science from the Kansas State University. At the young age of 17, she worked at a doggy daycare, and the owner kind of brought her into the realms of healthy pet foods. So there she continued her journey, and she her passion for educating pet owners about proper nutrition became a lifestyle she wanted to pursue. Shelby works for Barkery U, a natural products distributor in Olathe, and Terry work as the owner. Thank you, Terry. And Shelby is the nutrition specialist and sales support role. So with that, Shelby, if you're on the floor.
Okay, I have to have a PowerPoint or else I will forget, and so that's why I'll refer to this. Those are my kids. That's Osage, Bosco, and Bluemont. And like Delena was saying, I graduated from Kansas State University with a pet food science degree, as well as an animal science degree. So I had that passion that she said when I was in high school, and it was just super simple. It was no corn, no wheat, no soy. And I was like, got it. I'll tell everybody I know. So I started, I went home and I was like, Mom, hey Mom, we need to get Duke and Emmy off of, we were feeding Eukanuba. And I said, well, we need to get them off that. And that's how it started. And so when I found out they had this option at K-State, I definitely wanted to pursue it. So how to read pet food labels is a huge part of what I had to learn. And so I will teach you guys just the basics. There are rules set by organizations or associations. And so when you're doing your own research, this will help you look at a bag and see exactly how much or around how much meat is in that food, and the key words to kind of watch, as well as some indicators that it's not a good food. So ingredients is the number one thing that we look at when it comes to what is the quality of this pet food. So ingredient decks are meant to tell the customer or tell the consumer that what are they exactly getting in their food? What is truly in the product? And in reality, in most cases, that's actually not true. They will do anything they can to trick you into thinking, hey, this is a really good high-quality ingredient. So I'll throw in there pet food grade. I have examples up here too. I just pointed out one, but pet food grade. And I'll tell you right there, that means it's not human grade, but it makes it sound like it's healthy. Oh, it's pet food grade, that means it's a high quality. It actually means it's not high quality. High protein soybean meal is kind of cut off there, but they'll trick you into putting words like high protein. You don't need to put high protein. Chicken's high protein, beef's high protein, but soybean meal, I mean, it might be high protein, but it's not going to be absorbed by a carnivore. So, along with ingredients too, huge, if you don't take away anything, take away this one thing, but the first 5, and this is just a rule of thumb, the first 5 ingredients on your pet food make up the most of your pet food, about 85% on average. So when you're reading, and I just have an example up here, this is a pet food that is actually in the market right now. It's doing very, very well, but you read those first 5 ingredients, and that is basically what your dog's eating. So I see here, turkey's the first ingredient. It's a good ingredient. Then you have corn gluten meal. Then you have soybean or soy flour, animal fat. It's one of my favorites to pick on. Animal fat is not specified. So why is it saying chicken fat? Why isn't it saying beef fat? So they are usually using animals or a mixture of animals. And yes, this does include euthanized animals. This includes roadkill. This can include a whole slew of things. They basically just mix all of these ingredients together, boil it, the fat will float to the top, and then they scoop it off. That's animal fat. That is the ingredient that can be used in pet food. So avoid that. If you see animal or if you just see meat, it's not specified. So in the PowerPoint slides, I think all of you have one. I also wanted to throw in here just a few ingredients to avoid. And there is way more than this, and if you guys are interested in finding out all of the ingredients you should be avoiding, Brookside Barkery staff is super knowledgeable. They will point you in the right direction of, yeah, that's a good ingredient, or no, I'd stick away from that one. But this is just a rule of thumb for me. One I like to point out is the color additives. You usually find these at the very, very, very end of an ingredient panel. And that's why you see some foods that's colored, so pretty. Oh, that's a pea. Oh, that's red meat. That's beef. No, it's all mixed in the same ingredient. It's all the same food, but they use color dyes when they're running their extruders at different times. So they'll run red kibble. They have red dyes. Then they have blue. And then they have all sorts of different caramel colors. Is a really popular one too. But this can cause side effects, and I think Dr. Dodson might know more about this, but I've heard research of dogs that actually get headaches, and you don't know your dog has a headache. So why are we even risking putting that in our pet's food? The question marks. So what I was saying earlier is animal or meat, something that's not specified, byproduct. So a huge one is animal byproduct or animal fat. You don't know exactly what it is, so I would say stay away.
Shelby, you mentioned the other day about animal digest in your experience. Can you just kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So the one above she's talking about is animal digest. So this happened a few years ago. I was at school. We took a tour, and they took us to a processing plant, so I got to see some not so great things, but at the very end, basically it's where they harvest the cattle and the pigs, and this is meat that goes into our pet's food. But at the very end, I saw them cleaning up. They had this tractor going around, and it was scooping all the crap on the ground. That includes ear tags, that includes tails, things that, the manure, that all goes into a bin. It was like a hole in the ground. They just dumped everything in there, and I said, oh, is that like your waste, where you throw all your waste away? And they said, no, we send that off to a rendering facility, and then they call that animal digest. That's an AFCO standard. That is an ingredient. So that, you could be feeding plastic, and it's apparently okay. So this is my funny picture I like to throw up here, just because obviously that does not make sense. So when I talk to people about ingredients, if I still don't think they get it, I go, okay, a wolf or a coyote, they're in the wild, they're hunting. Do you ever see them hunting for corn? Do you ever go see them hunting for, like, oh, they got a corn cob. They're eating them. No, they don't. Ah, that's better. That's what's normal. So why not feed normal? So you're like, okay, Shelby, I get it. You should be eating meat. But my dog can process grains fine. I mean, I fed it all its life. How do you know a dog is a true carnivore? Science, I can tell you. First is sharp teeth. They do have sharp teeth. They don't have flat molars like we do, meant for grinding. Plant material, grains, they're meant to just tear and swallow. If you ever given your dog a piece of meat and then just like swallow it, they look at you, they're like, more. They don't even chew it, they just literally swallow it. It's like, oh, they must be hungry. No, they're not hungry. They are, that you just witnessed basically what they were meant to do, is just that is what their body was meant to do. So another There's no amylase. And so what amylase is an enzyme that is secreted from the saliva, as well as the ceca, or another, you know this. Whoops.
That's way back, yeah.
So it's mostly secreted in the saliva, and so we have it, cows have it, horses have it, pigs have it, herbivores and omnivores have it, but carnivores don't. And what it does is pre-digests carbohydrates. If you put a Ritz cracker on your tongue, close your mouth, and just sit for 5 minutes, what is it going to look like? It's like mush. That's not just the moisture, that's enzymes actually going and digesting carbohydrates. You do that to a cat or a dog, they're not, it's going to be the same cracker. Might be a little wet and gross and slimy, but so we know that they are not meant to, or their bodies are telling us they're not meant to digest carbohydrates. A single hinge jaw, so they can only do this. Have you ever seen a cow chew cut? Side to side, up and down. Their jaw can be like ours, where we can move it side to side, or grind plant material. They can't. They are meant to just rip, tear, swallow. A short digestive tract. What does that mean? So I want to say, you probably know that it's at around 8 feet long, the whole intestines for a dog. In people, it's like 30 feet, something close to that. So they don't have much time. Notice when you feed a dog, it's like they have to go poop right away almost. It's not like us. So we are feeding them a carbohydrate, and their bodies are so amazing. They will actually slow down their digestion when they're fed a carbohydrate just to get enough protein or just to get enough nutrients. That's when we see sometimes constipation in dogs and cats too. But so they don't have enough time to absorb nutrients, so why not feed them the most abundant protein you can, and that's meat and organs. And then I have a diagram here. This is just a comparison. So you have stomach, small intestine, cecum, large intestine. So the dog is a lot shorter in comparison to a pig or a human. So after we talk about ingredients, now we're talking about protein. So protein is the second thing I think people look at when it comes to quality of a pet food. You want to see, okay, I want to feed Fido a high protein diet and go on runs. I want to make sure he's getting the best nutrition. So I'm going to look at crude protein. Crude protein basically just means that they test the nitrogen when they are out of all the ingredients in the food. And that is a number that you get, so that percentage is the number you get for crude protein when you put all the ingredients together. Dogs cannot digest plant proteins, and cats. Here are some examples of some plant proteins you'll find in your food. So that'll make that number jump. But these are not even utilized by the pet. So we want meat protein. This is what they can utilize. And another thing too, you'll notice if you switch to a meat diet for protein, on a protein standpoint, you'll get smaller stools too, so they're absorbing more. Now, I have a commercial that probably everybody has seen. And I want you to just, it's super quick, but watch this one part. There'll be a few words that pop up at the bottom that say number one ingredient and what it is. But listen to what she says and how tricky it is, and it makes you think of what you're feeding.
How much protein does your dog food have? 18%? 20? Nutrient-dense Purina One True Instinct with real turkey and venison has 30% protein. Support your active dog's whole body health with Purina One.
So I don't know if you guys heard that, and it was a little quiet, but when that was one of the tricks that they do. So they have this turkey, number one ingredient, or turkey's I think it's supposed to say number one ingredient, but when she's talking, she says turkey and venison. So yes, it can be labeled there, but she's saying with real turkey and venison. So you're thinking, wow, this is like turkey, venison, it's like a high protein diet, 30% protein. Well, I want to look at the ingredients. So this is that same exact food. Look where venison is. Can you find it? I don't know if I can find it. Oh, there it is, 11. Okay. So Ingredients are going to be ranked by the weight that they are in that pet food. A quick note about turkey, or just any meat that you see that doesn't have meal after it, that basically means there's moisture. So it's turkey with moisture, and it's about 60% moisture. And once this kibble's cooked, where do you think that turkey goes? Now kibble's 10% moisture. What do you think is the first ingredient in that pet food truly after it's cooked? It's not a trick question. So the next one. So now, even though it says turkey is the #1 ingredient, that is probably not going to be, I could be wrong. They could probably have like 80% of the bag is turkey. Probably not, but that's just a really big trick that people play, or manufacturers play, is they say turkey's the #1 ingredient. It's like, great, what's second and third and fourth and fifth? Oh, corn gluten meal, soy flour, animal fat. Oh, there it is again, animal fat, my favorite. So who makes these rules? So why do we have to follow a guideline? So some of you probably never heard of AFCO, but it's Association of American Feed Control Officials. They're not government regulated. They started in the early 1900s and they're still here. And they just are a voluntary membership organization, and they are actually funded a lot from large pet food manufacturers. And a lot of the good pet food manufacturers will challenge them and say, hey, I have this ingredient, it's super great for the dog, super great for the cat. Can I put it on my label? No, it's not in our AFCO book. Yes, there is an AFCO book. You have to use what we have, everything that we have, and this was back years ago, and they haven't met in so many years, like, let me see, close to 10 years. They haven't updated this. So this is a huge struggle for those good manufacturers. And if there are, they do go, I know that a lot of pet food manufacturers, the good ones, will go to court with AFCO, and it's kind of fun, they win. But yeah, they established the minimum nutrient requirements for the pet, but the one problem is that they didn't do the maximum. So we see a lot of toxicities in pet food. Dogs that are getting poisoned, cats that are getting poisoned, cats that are getting struvite crystals, they're getting too much of a mineral, maybe. So going on to the labeling rules, these are established by AFCO. So for packaging, the 100% or the all rule is not hard to understand. It's basically one ingredient, and that's excluding water, but that will, you can put on the front of that package, this is 100% lamb, or whatever the treat is. Usually it's not a food, it is a treat. So, but be careful of the 100 being really big, and then you see next to it tiny little writing that says delicious. You're like, oh, okay, it's 100% what? And you're like, 100% delicious. It's like, okay, thank you for letting me know that. And another one is 100% natural. Okay, that's great, but what is natural? I feel like natural is a very saturated word. Just try to find something different that stands out, not just natural. Everything's natural now. So then, for a lot of your good dog foods, and even treats, but mostly with the pet food aid for labeling reasons, there's a 95% rule. This means you can put on a packaging, this is chicken dog food, or this is lamb dog food. You don't see it often. A lot of people will just put on there, this is 95% protein, 95% these meat ingredients. And some of these examples, they're right on the front of the can, 95%. Cool, you can trust that you know that they are allowed to put that on the front of the can or the bag. That is true, that is what they have to abide by. That can't be tricked. So then you have manufacturers who are like, well, I want to have a economical food, I don't think I can spend that much. So there's the 25% rule. This isn't a bad rule either. There's a lot of good dog foods in this category. But they're allowed to use the words, and this is why you hear formula, dinner, entree, and recipe. To use one of those 4 words, that means that this pet food is between 25% and 94% of that meat protein. Now, do you think a manufacturer would be at 93% just to get dinner on there? Why don't you go to 95%? So a lot of them will just pass, I'll just get right to 25%. It'll be a lot cheaper if the customer doesn't have to pay as much. So I'll put dinner on it, but we'll just do 25%. So now, this rule does get a little tricky. Oh, there you see entree, dinner, and recipe. So it gets tricky. I have two examples here. First label is like no harm, so you see chicken meal. Now, when I was explaining earlier, when I just said turkey, that has moisture in it, meal is not a bad ingredient. This is AFCO at its finest. AFCO allows only to say, you can't say dehydrated chicken, they won't allow that. Even though this is dehydrated chicken. Chicken meal is dehydrated. So that is when you're looking at a bag, meal is not a bad ingredient. Now, meat meal, because we don't know the animal. And they don't want to tell you the animal. So just be careful. Just make sure it's a specified species and the meal is dehydrated. Now you know that when it's dehydrated, it's going to be way more dense because it's up there at the very beginning of the label. This is before it's cooked or processed in any way. So that right there says canine chicken meal feast. So what, we got that, we got chicken meal, so they're not tricking us there. Then I have the second one here. I'm not saying this is a bad food, but I have beef recipe for dogs. Okay, beef. Look at the first ingredient. What is it? Deboned beef. Then what's the second ingredient? Chicken meal. So now put the two together. Once that kibble's cooked, what is the number one ingredient? Probably going to be chicken meal. So people can market, or manufacturers can market this as a beef product, even though in reality, what your dog is really eating is mostly chicken, but you're spending more money just on, I'm just saying beef is usually more expensive, but they're probably going to be eating more chicken than beef. And as I was saying before about deboned beef or deboned anything, okay, it's trickier. So here I have a label that says chicken and rice formula. So formula means what? Means that it's 25%, at least 25% of that, of what it's saying. So now I have chicken and rice. So now chicken and rice have to equal 25%. And AFCO allows only 3% of one of those ingredients to be in the diet in order to make the label. So you could be getting 3% chicken and a whole bunch of rice because that's the second ingredient. So be careful when you see those. I'm not saying these are all bad. I'm not here to say what's bad and good. I am, but I'm not. Okay. So, as I was saying, the 3% can be one of those ingredients. That's why you see a lot of chicken and rice, lamb and rice, beef and potatoes. You see those. It's because it's an easier way out. It's a cheaper way to make a food. And yeah, it's just something to be aware of. If your dog is borderline diabetes or is diabetic, then I would probably stay away from rice because you're just feeding their body with a bunch of starch. That's not good for a diabetic person or a dog that can't even digest it correctly. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay, it gets better. The width rule, my favorite, actually no, the next one's my favorite. So the width rule, or 3% rule, basically means at least 3% of that food has to be that ingredient it's calling. So if this says here, my beautiful Beneful, with real beef, if it says with, that means 3% of that food is beef. Here's an example here. See how it says beef recipe? Does it say with beef? Beef recipe up here? Then that means it has to be a minimum of 25%. That's a huge jump in quality. And like I said, you don't have to remember all of this. This is in your packets too, so it's a lot to take in. Here's another example real quick. If pet food, I think, is doing really well with its advertising. advertising is blue buffalo. This one here is with bison. So now the first ingredient is deboned bison. That means it has moisture included. Second and third ingredient is chicken meal and turkey meal. Dehydrated, dense. Now when it says with bison, that means that that first ingredient is actually less than 3%. So that is concerning, considering someone is going to the store, they're buying a bison formula, and they're actually spending probably $10 more, or if not close to that more, when the manufacturer is making way more on their bottom line. This is how they make their money, is tricks like this. Like I said, I'm not saying that's a bad ingredient panel at all. I'm just saying be careful for what you're spending. If you're wanting a bison food, there is a bison food out there. Just be careful of these tricks, the width. Another one, one more, is this one here is with lamb and rice. Same thing with the 25% rule. Now this is lamb and rice have to equal 3%. So look what the first ingredient is. Meat, broth, which I don't know what that is. It could be anything. And then chicken. But look at the front of that pan. I don't think it says chicken on it. But you're buying lamb. So you're spending a little bit more dollars, you're spending more. Just make sure you're reading the ingredients. Okay, now here's my favorite one. The flavor rule. This is the lowest you can go. So this means less than 3% of the food is what you are putting on your package. So if you see beefy bits, beef flavor, this says flavor on it, that means that less than 3% to 0%, yes. So you have beef in here, but then look at the first two ingredients. If that is 3%, what is 97% of your food? It's like, so your dog is just a cow. So you're feeding that dog a high starch diet, and then everything else is less than 97 or less than 3%. Another example real quick is, now this one says chicken and beef flavor down here. There's no chicken in this ingredient. Yeah. Look what it says here. My favorite, well I have all these favorites, but Animal Digest, got my story earlier, source of chicken flavor. I dug these. And look at the packaging. My dog's getting a steak for dinner? What? Yeah. Why not? It's only $7. So, why do we care? Why do we do this? This is why we care. So this is a dog that was taken in at a rescue that we work close with in Houston. And they called our sales rep in Houston and said, you know, Kelly, we got this dog. His owner surrendered him. And you won't believe what he looks like. And Kelly's like, okay. Well, he surrendered him because he can't get his skin controlled. What? His skin controlled? Yeah, no, like this dog looks like he's like got mange or something. The owner basically surrendered his dog because he couldn't fix his skin. On day 34, and I'm sorry if you can't see this down here. So they fed him Origin puppy food, just so they can get some weight on him. And that's what he looks like now. So that's why we care. We're not feeding crap, we're feeding carnivores. We want high meat, organs if you can in the ingredient panel, no grains, feed them like a carnivore. So, how are you going to pick? Like what? I mean, you have all these pet foods. That's why Brookside Barkery's there. They're your teacher, they're your experts. Go in there and say, look, I just need to find what is the best for my budget, for what I need for my pet, here's the issues I have, and they will make sure to find you. They'll tell you the truth too. They'll say, no, that's not a good food, and this is why. So benefits of a canine appropriate diet: better oral health, increased energy, and some of you guys that have like those like border collie type dogs, I'm sorry, they will get more energy. But that's a beautiful thing. Your dog is feeling better. Take them out on runs. Sorry. But, you know, they're going to be healthier. If your dog is showing signs of, if they're lethargic and they're 3 years old and they're not a breed that's supposed to be that lazy, like a Basset Hound, or I don't even know if they're lazy, but that's a red flag. I would go see a vet or Dr. Dodson and see what can you do. I mean, it's probably nutritionally. Improved digestion, we've been talking about that all night. So you're feeding meat to a carnivore. Why are you feeding ingredients that don't belong to a carnivore? And they can't say no. You fill their bowl, and it's either that or you go hungry.